While the massacre unfolds on the streets, Ito violently wakes up inside the heavily guarded police van. Realizing his friends are in extreme danger, he completely unleashes his fury. Despite being handcuffed and severely injured, Ito brutally battles the heavily armed corrupt cops in the tight, confined space of the moving van. He mercilessly kills them all, violently forcing the van to crash. Ito desperately escapes the wreckage and frantically sprints all the way back to the apartment, but he arrives far too late. The rooms are completely destroyed, and he finds the gruesome, heartbreaking bodies of Bobby and Wisnu. Crushed with profound grief, he quickly calls Shinta, completely relieved to hear that she managed to escape the building safely. Refusing to give up, Ito frantically searches the surrounding area and eventually finds Reina, who has been completely traumatized by witnessing Fadi's brutal death. Ito gently takes her away, breaking into a completely different, abandoned apartment to hide. In the quiet, highly emotional aftermath, the two finally begin to bond. Reina softly asks him what his name is, and he tells her people call him Ito. Reina innocently mentions that Fadi used to call him Baldi, bringing a tiny, heartbreaking smile to Ito's face. She recounts Fadi's final, brave words, telling Ito that Fadi said there is no time for regrets. Reina shares how nice everyone was to her, mentioning that Bobby was completely weird but incredibly strong. Ito solemnly agrees, quietly mourning the devastating loss of his fallen brothers. Suddenly, the quiet moment is violently shattered. The operator violently kicks open the apartment door, immediately attacking Ito. A massive, incredibly destructive hand-to-hand fight tears through the small room. The operator is terrifyingly fast and highly skilled, pushing Ito to his absolute physical limits. Just as the operator gains the upper hand and prepares to deliver the final, killing blow, Reina desperately jumps out from her hiding spot, tearfully begging the mysterious woman not to kill her Uncle Ito. The operator pauses, looking at the crying child, and coldly reveals her true purpose. She explains that she was officially hired to completely eliminate Ito, making her an extremely dangerous wildcard. Ito, completely broken by his own immense guilt, stares at the floor. He explicitly confesses the crushing, unbearable remorse he feels for blindly carrying out the Triad's orders, detailing how he completely slaughtered an entire village of innocent people just because a few men stole Syndicate money. He admits his life has been nothing but creating death, and he saved Reina as a desperate, final attempt to save his own corrupted soul. Having completely accepted his dark fate, Ito tells the operator to hurry up and finish him off, but seeing his profound, genuine remorse, the operator silently lowers her weapon and completely disappears into the shadows, choosing to spare his life. Elsewhere, the highly manipulative Chien Wu meets privately with Arian. The Triad boss is entirely furious that Ito is still alive. He gives Arian one final, absolute chance to complete the mission and prove he hasn't betrayed the Syndicate. Chien Wu explicitly reminds Arian that taking Ito's head is the only possible way to secure his highly coveted seat as the Six Seas. Arian's mind races, flashing back to a critical moment in the past. He remembers when he and Ito were dealing with Bobby's severe drug addiction. In the flashback, Bobby was desperately trying to convince them to start dealing narcotics for massive profits, completely disregarding the extreme danger. Arian remembers how he was the one who constantly pushed for expansion, deeply influencing Ito to embrace the violence that ultimately led to Ito being chosen for the Six Seas. Arian feels a massive, burning sense of betrayal that Ito was elevated to the Triad's most elite rank without him, leaving Arian completely in his shadow. Fueled by this deep-seated, bitter resentment, Arian picks up his phone and makes a fateful call. He contacts Ito, demanding they finally meet face-to-face at an abandoned, highly dangerous warehouse by the docks. Ito receives the call and instantly knows it is a deadly trap. However, he also knows that if he completely ignores Arian, the Triad will relentlessly hunt Reina down. He must end this tonight. As Ito prepares to leave for the final showdown, the operator suddenly returns to the apartment. She tells Ito that she has officially decided to stay and protect the young girl, but strictly warns Ito that if he survives the night, she will still eventually kill him to fulfill her contract. She also reveals a crucial piece of intelligence. Arian is being heavily backed by Chien Wu. Ito arrives at the massive, echoing warehouse, fully prepared for an absolute bloodbath. Predictably, an entire army of heavily armed Triad henchmen is waiting for him in the shadows. What follows is a pure, unadulterated massacre. Ito fights like a completely possessed demon, utilizing assault rifles, shotguns, combat knives, and his bare, bloodied hands to completely annihilate the seemingly endless waves of Syndicate killers. He tears through the warehouse in a terrifying storm of shattered bones and flying blood, completely refusing to die. Simultaneously, back at the apartment, Wu has officially dispatched his deadliest weapons, sending the lethal assassins Alma and Elena to finish off Reina. However, they are immediately confronted by the operator, who is standing firmly in the doorway. An incredibly epic, terrifyingly brutal fight to the death completely explodes in the hallway. The three highly skilled women utilize razor-sharp wires, hunting knives, and devastating martial arts in a perfectly choreographed dance of death. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the operator is entirely relentless. After a grueling, bloody struggle, she violently overpowers them both, brutally executing Elena and decisively killing Alma, successfully keeping Reina completely safe from harm. Back at the warehouse, Ito has miraculously survived the onslaught, standing completely exhausted among mountains of dead bodies. Suddenly, a hidden Triad sniper perfectly lines up a lethal shot right at Ito's head. But before the sniper can pull the trigger, Arian suddenly appears from the darkness and violently murders the sniper himself. Arian wants the ultimate kill entirely for himself. The two former brothers finally stand face to face in the bloody wreckage. Ito desperately tries to explain his sudden change of heart, completely pleading with Arian to understand why he had to save the girl. But Arian is completely deaf to his words, consumed by his own bitter jealousy and blind ambition. The final, apocalyptic fight completely erupts between the two men. It is an incredibly brutal, deeply emotional sequence, with both men utterly destroying each other. Arian is vastly superior in his technical skill, utilizing blinding speed and precision strikes to completely slice Ito apart. But Ito possesses terrifying, inhuman strength and an absolute, unbreakable endurance. They violently smash each other through wooden crates and concrete pillars. After a highly exhaustive, incredibly bloody war of attrition, Ito finally manages to overpower Arian, violently beating him to the floor. Ito stands over his heavily defeated friend, fully capable of delivering the final killing blow. But as he looks down at Arian, Ito's deep, lingering love for his former brother completely takes over. He explicitly refuses to kill him, stating that he still deeply cares for him despite the horrific path they have walked. Heavily limping and entirely covered in deep, bleeding wounds, Ito slowly turns his back and begins to walk away. Desperate and entirely humiliated, Arian slowly pulls a hidden gun and aims it directly at Ito's unprotected back. His finger trembles violently on the trigger, but despite all of his massive anger and deep resentment, Arian simply cannot bring himself to shoot his oldest friend. He slowly lowers the weapon, completely allowing Ito to escape into the dark night. Moments later, the warehouse door slides open, and the terrifying Wu arrives with a massive squad of heavily armed enforcers. Seeing that Arian has completely failed his mission and explicitly disobeyed his direct orders, Wu coldly gives a silent nod. The Triad henchmen instantly raise their weapons and completely gun Arian down in cold blood, executing him for his ultimate failure. The next morning, the bright sun finally rises over the bustling docks. The operator has safely guided Reina through the city, delivering her directly to Ito, who is waiting by the harbor. The operator gives Ito a silent nod of absolute respect before completely departing into the shadows forever. Ito crouches down and gently hands Reina her brand new forged passport, completely ensuring her total safety and absolute freedom. He carefully places her on a large departing ship bound for a completely new, safe life, far away from the horrors of the Syndicate. As the heavy ship slowly pulls away from the dock, Ito and Reina share one final, deeply emotional wave goodbye, both feeling a profound sense of absolute relief and deep sadness. With Reina completely safe, Ito slowly walks back to his parked car. He sits in the driver's seat, heavily bleeding and completely exhausted, finally feeling a deep, profound sense of inner peace. Suddenly, a massive convoy of black SUVs violently swarms the docks. Wu and an absolute army of heavily armed Triad henchmen step out, completely blocking Ito's only path of escape. They raise their automatic weapons, aiming directly at his windshield. Ito stares down the massive, impossible army of killers, but instead of showing fear, a wide, deeply satisfied grin slowly spreads across his bloodied face. Having completely redeemed his soul by saving the innocent girl, he aggressively revs the loud engine, shifts the car into drive, and fearlessly accelerates directly toward the heavily armed firing line, completely ready to embrace his final, glorious end. If you love this intense, action-packed breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another epic movie recap.